Hi. Almost everyone watches me without a subscription. Please support my channel with a subscription. I try for you. Thank you.
Story 1. I caught my wife cheating, so I broke up her marriage to her affair partner. The most important thing to know about this text is that the speaker's wife cheated on him for almost 20 years. The speaker didn't know the signs, such as texting late at night, going out for drinks with friends, not paying for yoga, being stubborn, and having unknown callers hang up on them. They were supposed to leave tomorrow for a 2-week road trip, but when they came home early, they were surprised to find their partner naked on their bed. Since then, the speaker has been struggling with a sense of betrayal. At this point, it is hard for the narrator to care about what happens to them. They spent the night at the family cabin and drank everything there. They've been staring at a 60-ounce bottle of rum for an hour. They decided not to drink the rum, but it will stay nearby for now. They talked to their brother and his wife on the phone, and the wife sent them a text saying she loves them and can't wait for them to go on vacation. The person telling the story is not ready to talk to family or friends, so they are asking for help from strangers. Today, they feel a lot better, but it still feels like someone punched them in the gut. They are wondering if this is a calm before the storm or if they are just incredibly strong. The most important parts of this text are that the narrator is going to thank their neighbor for being their best friend and that they are currently thinking about getting a divorce. The narrator also tells them that their brother has been their true best friend and that they should always remember that and know that he will always be there for them without judging them. Lastly, the narrator says that the hotel let them switch from the honeymoon suite to a room with 2 beds and that their brother will join them on a fishing trip to a nearby lake where they can rent boats. This has made the narrator feel a little less stressed and given her more time to think about getting a divorce. The most important information in this text is that his wife has a friend who is a couples counselor and is willing to talk to him on Monday. He is also getting advice and talking to lawyers to get ready for what he thinks is coming. He and his brother Matt went fishing on Saturday, but nothing good happened. On Sunday, they drove back to Matt's house, where his wife was already waiting for them. Jen told him that while they were away, she decided to watch his wife and caught her leaving his apartment. At the end of the text, Jen sends him a text message telling him she loves and misses him. On Sunday morning, before the narrator's wife got in her car, a friend of hers took a few pictures of them hugging and kissing. This made it clear to the narrator that they don't want to see them again. The narrator decided to stay calm and level-headed, so she had dinner with a counselor, Sharon. After dinner, they took the dogs for a walk around the neighborhood and talked privately. Sharon was helpful because she was a good listener and made the person telling the story feel like they didn't need to be on guard. The walk took an hour, and Sharon's only real piece of advice was to talk to her wife right away. Later that night, they told the narrator he could stay with them for as long as he needed, but they have a time limit for being so close. They decided to try again with Sharon later that week and slept on the couch that night. The most important thing to know about this text is that the narrator didn't know how to handle the situation and decided to go with the flow. They decided to do a drive-by first. When they got to the guy's apartment, neither his truck nor his wife's car were there. Then, they wrote her to find out where she was, and she told them she was going shopping. The narrator then wrote her again and said, "Come home, we need to talk." When she got home 15 minutes later, she asked me what was wrong, and I told her she needed to start being honest with me. She then told me that she was taking walks to relax, and I asked her why she felt the need to lie to me about what she was doing. A woman who said she didn't go to yoga lies to the narrator. She tries to change the subject by saying that she is busy getting ready to move, but the narrator keeps asking her if she is lying about last weekend when she went out with friends for drinks and came home late. She says that she didn't do it, so the narrator asks her if she was lying again. The narrator is fighting with their girlfriend, who is drinking by herself. The narrator tells her to stop drinking and gives her one last chance to be honest, but she doesn't take it. The narrator then takes the girlfriend's clothes, toiletries, and Xbox and goes for a drive to get away from her.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate the video, and click the bell.
The girlfriend then hangs up and begs the narrator to come home so they can talk about what happened. The narrator thinks that the girlfriend loves them and would never hurt them. The narrator's best friend calls and tells them that a couple of guys tried to kiss her at work a few weeks ago, but she pushed them away and told them she was married. She then tells them that she hooked up with the other guy and gave him her wife's number, but that he hasn't written her back. The narrator then asks her to let them look at her phone. It was empty of texts and photos, but they found one of a guy they didn't know. Then, they ask her why she took a picture of him. She blames herself, but the narrator says that's not a good reason and asks her to tell them why she did it. She then runs off, and the narrator drives away. The narrator's wife went to the club with a few of her friends. When she woke up at 4 a.m., her husband was outside trying to stop her. She called him and asked him to come get her, but he was already gone. When she called him back, she told him that they were trying to get a taxi but couldn't find one, and that a couple of guys her friend knew stopped and offered them a ride, but they wanted to stop at home first. When they got to the guy's house, her married friend went into a room with one of the guys, and her friend's wife spent some time looking for her, but eventually gave up and had a drink in the kitchen with the other roommates while she waited. The narrator was disgusted by what her friend did, so she stopped being friends with her. The narrator's wife then went to visit a close friend in a different city for a planned girls' night out. She called him around 1 a.m. to say goodnight, but he heard a man's voice in the background. At first, she said she hadn't heard anything, but then it happened again loudly and she couldn't deny it, so she said, "Oh yeah, my ex-friend took 2 guys with her. She left me no choice but to trust her again, and she said she would never put herself in that kind of situation again, but it didn't work." The text talks about a conversation between the narrator and the narrator's ex-partner. The narrator confronts the narrator, who admits that she lied about the guy who tried to kiss her and that all 4 of them went back to his place that night to mess around. The narrator then confronts the narrator again, and the narrator admits that they met up again, slept together, and hooked up while the narrator was gone. The narrator asks the narrator if they will give her a chance to make up for what she has done, and the narrator says they will think about it. The text then ends with the narrator telling the narrator that they love them and will miss them. The narrator is out of town for work, and the husband of the woman he has been cheating with finds him. The narrator asks if he is having an affair because his marriage is falling apart. The woman says she doesn't think so. The narrator then asks the woman if she would do anything to fix the situation. The woman says that she would if she were her husband or her affair partner's wife. The husband then asks the narrator to talk to his wife. The husband says that he didn't know she was married and that the narrator should never talk to her again. The narrator replies that it was just a one-night stand and that they don't want a mistake to ruin their marriage. Since a month ago, the narrator and their wife have been having an affair. The narrator calls the wife's workplace and asks if she knows where the wife works.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate the video, and click the bell.
The wife tells the narrator that she has something terrible to say but doesn't want to make any mistakes. The narrator then tells the wife that she should be treated with the same respect as a fair partner's wife and that they should go on vacation and spend some quality time together. The wife then offers the narrator counseling and sexual favors, but the narrator turns them down. Then, Karen's boss at work sends the narrator a text saying that the wife ruined 4 lives and 2 marriages. The most important parts of this text are that the narrator's cheating wife fell to the floor and started crying, and that they stayed and listened to her excuses for 4 hours. The storyteller then called Karen and told her that her friend who had been cheating on her was suicidal and that Karen should come watch over her. The narrator has been going back and forth between camp and the lawyer's office. He or she has had a good cry for the first time since all of this started. The narrator's father has told them that they need to do what is best for them and that no matter what happens, he will always love them like a son. The narrator is grateful for all the comments and messages they have received, and the people who share their own stories in this way really help them feel less broken and give them more hope. The narrator also thinks that Op did a great job of getting his cheating wife to tell the truth. The narrator wants to be as little of a burden on their family as possible, so they've been taking advantage of the personal time their company gives them. They have been seeing Sharon, a therapist, and have made a list of all their assets and finances, including their debts. They have also asked the bank to freeze their accounts. But when their wife's car pulled up on Saturday night, her family and friends were there and yelled at them to mind their own business. The narrator had to tell their family the bad news, and they are now a part of the healing process. Kate, the narrator's wife, ran up to them and begged them to talk to her. She told them that the other guy's wife had left him and blamed her for it. She then gave them a list of ways to make it up to them, including couples counseling, sexual requests, and quitting their jobs and opening a beach bar. This made the narrator realize how much he missed her and wanted to be with her again, so he ended the conversation. The most important parts of this text are that the narrator was able to confront his cheating wife and that the affair partner got what was coming to them. The narrator is struggling with missing their best friend, who was their best friend for decades, and wants nothing more than to pack up and start over somewhere else. They hope that the narrator will be able to get a divorce, move to a beach, and start his own bar. They also hope that the narrator is having fun and is happy with his life wherever he is. Story 2, Ask a Manager. A DNA test revealed the CEO is my half-brother, and he's freaking out. My dad gave the whole family DNA ancestry kits for the holidays, and it turns out the CEO of the company I work for is my half-brother. Dad's not the kind of guy to gift everyone DNA kits as a way of telling us he had a secret love child, so I don't think he knew he had another kid. We're all grown-ups and know where babies come from and that things aren't always what we expect, so I have a feeling this is a shock to everyone. The CEO's company bio says he's a proud Texan, born and raised. Dad was stationed in Texas 10 years before he met and married my mother. The timeline all fits and so do the genes, I guess. None of my siblings have initiated contact and neither has Dad. I've met the CEO a few times, but he works out of the corporate headquarters across the country from the smaller division where I work. About a week after I got my results, an email went out from the head of HR stating that all staff had to take a refresher training on nepotism. The training also included a new clause that said something like staff are not entitled to privileges personal or professional if familial relation by genes or marriage to executive or management staff is known or unknown or discovered during employment. Other than being clunky verbiage, I felt like it was aimed at me. I found out no other branch had to retake the nepotism training and the email only came to our office. My manager later pulled me in personally to ask if I had any questions about the policy. She was vague and uncomfortable, and I said I wanted to know why nobody else was brought in 1:1 to talk about the policy and why no other branch had to do the training. She just kind of ignored the question and said she was just following instructions, so now I think this was aimed at me. I'm happy to drop the whole thing. I'm sure he feels as uncomfortable as I do about this, but to weaponize HR and make my coworkers waste a whole day on mandatory training just to put up a boundary seems messed up. A simple personal email of, "Hey, I saw this. I don't know what to make of it. Please give me space and don't bring it to work" would have sufficed. Even ignoring it would have been fine by me too, since I wasn't sure I wanted to be the one to initiate a conversation about this without having talked to my dad first. Dad has gotten his results back, obviously, and he's avoiding the conversation. This is a big elephant in the room made a little harder by the fact that I work for this guy. What bothers me the most is that weaponizing HR with the intent to make sure I know not to ask for perks feels messed up. I've been with the company for 5 years and have a great reputation. At least I did. What do I do? Allison asked if the CEO would have gotten a notification. Yeah, the company is about 200 full-time employees, mostly in our 2 states. He follows a lot of employees on LinkedIn and I'm in a marketing role, so my team is in touch with corporate a lot. I've only met him in person a few times, but some projects bring me in close proximity to him and his direct staff. The DNA test has an app, and you get notifications regularly via email and I think push notifications on your phone if you opt in. I have no way of knowing what he opted into, so I assumed he didn't know until the weird training. He has now blocked me on LinkedIn and all social media, and has blocked all my siblings and my parents. I think the jig is up. How do I make sure my job is secure? The gist of the advice is to maybe leave a note acknowledging the DNA test, maybe ignore it, maybe go to HR and invoke the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act, but definitely look for a new job. Update January 3rd, 2023. My short update is that he 100% tried to fire me. The long update is complicated, but this month has been unbelievable. Just after my question was posted, my boss Katie met with me and told me she was aware of the situation and didn't agree with how the CEO and HR had been handling it in regard to the nepotism training. I told her my only plan was to forget about it for the time being, and she supported that. She told me to come to her if anything changed. Things were quiet for a week until a major project I was working on was deleted from the company drive. It was a coincidence that I had backed it up on a USB. Katie was suspicious about my project getting deleted and told me to save everything to an external drive and my hardware, and sure enough, the project got deleted again. After that, anything I put on our work servers was getting deleted within hours, as well as any correspondence with clients or my team members. I started sending all my work communication and attachments to Katie and duplicating them on a USB that Katie kept locked in her office. It was like a James Bond movie. After a mid-month project meeting where I showed up with all my work on a USB drive, HR pulled me in because an anonymous concern was raised about me hiding my work from my colleagues and tried to write me up. Katie must have known something like this was coming because she handled it and BCC'd me on all her correspondence with HR and the executive team, outlining her concerns about the CEO's and HR's behavior regarding the DNA results and that she believed someone was remotely accessing my work computer to delete things. The company VP was horrified. Up until this point, I didn't know CE Bro wasn't the owner of the company. Katie and I had a call with the VP that day, who assured me that the owners were being made aware of the situation and that my job was not in jeopardy. The VP also apologized for the write-up attempt and the fact someone was obviously remotely accessing my work hardware. That was on a Friday, and my attempted firing was the following Monday. C-Bro's mom contacted Dad on the home front as all this was happening at work. I won't get into what was said, but the gist is Dad was set up as an unwitting donor for a childless couple. As a family, we decided to support Dad and just drop it because we didn't ask for the complete Jerry Springer package. We just wanted to know what part of Ireland Grandma was from. The Monday after Dad spoke to C-Bro's mother, I was walking through the lobby when HR literally ambushed me and loudly fired me in front of a client and like 20 of my colleagues. Security escorted me out in front of my friends and colleagues who had no idea what was happening, so that was pretty dark and humiliating. Katie stopped me on the way to my car and brought me back in for a video call with her, the VP, and the owners of the company. I explained what had happened since I got my DNA results back, the nepotism training, and editing as much of the personal stuff as I could for my dad's sake, but the whole thing was humiliating. I was unfired but asked to turn in my badge, as both CE Bro and I were suspended pending a full investigation by the owners and their lawyer. I was suspended with pay, which HR vehemently protested against. The suspension lasted a week and I had planned to spend that time looking for another job, but I just didn't have it in me. CE Bro did not return after the suspension. I was offered my job back with an apology, but I opted not to go back either and have been freelancing and taking some downtime because the last month has sucked. I did accept a generous severance package, so at least they tried to do the right thing. While some of this sounds flippant, there have been a lot of tears and stress and freaking out because this was a lot. I don't like being under a microscope at work or feeling like I'm in trouble, so it was really increasing a lot of anxiety. I was also hurt because I loved that job and my team, and being marched out by security felt awful. Dad feels guilty this turned into me almost losing my job, but none of this is his fault at all. In all of this, I have to say the people I resent the most in this situation were the two goblins in HR who knew they were doing the wrong thing every step of the way and openly enjoyed the drama of it all. Rumors have reached me that both the people in HR are connected with CE Bro in some way, like former college friends or exes or something.
Don't forget to subscribe.
I wish them
rate
the future they
video,
deserve.
and click the bell.